When they have had months to plan, looking helpful becomes their perfect camouflage. October in our town was synonymous with one thing: the annual Fall Fair. It was an event everyone pretended was far more spectacular than it actually was. I had been managing the ring toss booth for my uncle since I turned 16, and now at 23, I was intimately familiar with every vendor, every security guard, and every square inch of that muddy field we designated as the Fairgrounds. That Saturday began like any other, with me hauling stuffed animals from my uncle's van while the morning fog still clung to the grass. The Ferris wheel emitted its familiar creak as workers conducted tests, and the thick scent of funnel cakes was already heavy in the air, even though we were 2 hours away from opening. I remember joking with Beverly, who operated the cotton candy stand next to us, about how we'd likely see the same familiar faces again. The Brennan family and their matching flannel shirts, old Harold, who would spend his entire day at the beer garden, and the groups of teenagers who acted too cool to be there but showed up regardless. The afternoon crowd intensified around 2 p.m., and that was when I first caught sight of her. It wasn't because anything seemed out of place, but because she was helping a small child who had dropped his corn dog in the dirt. She couldn't have been older than 17, dressed in one of those oversized hoodies that are popular now, a purple one featuring the high school mascot. She bought the crying boy a replacement corn dog with her own money, and I recall thinking that was a remarkably kind gesture. About an hour later, I spotted her again with a group of friends near the Gravitron. They were all laughing and recording each other as they attempted to eat caramel apples without making a mess. It was normal teenage behavior, the kind of scene you witness 100 times at every fall fair without a second thought. However, something caused me to keep noticing her throughout the day. It wasn't in a disturbing way. It was just one of those things where once you identify someone, you continue to spot them in the crowd. Around 5:30 p.m., as the sun began to paint the landscape orange and the air took on that sharp October chill, I saw her again. This time, she was alone. She was standing between the entrance to the corn maze and the row of food trucks, typing on her phone with intense concentration. Her expression was strained, as if she were worried about something. That was when I noticed him for the first time. He wore a baseball cap pulled low and a plain gray jacket. There was nothing particularly remarkable about his posture. He was standing by the churro stand, roughly 20 feet away from her, holding a cup of something but not drinking it, just holding it. When she moved toward the lemonade truck, he followed, maintaining that exact same distance. When she joined the line, he suddenly found the prize board at the nearby basketball game very fascinating. His movements were not random, they were deliberate and calculated, as if he were playing a game where only he understood the rules. I had a line of customers then, families eager to win giant teddy bears, so I had to concentrate on my booth. But between sales, I kept glancing over. Each time, he was there, always the same distance from her, always feigning interest in something else. She moved to the kettle corn stand, and he examined the menu at the BBQ place next door. She walked toward the portable restrooms, and he suddenly needed to use a nearby trash can. The girl was constantly checking her phone and typing rapidly. At one point, she looked around quickly as if trying to locate someone. Her body language had completely shifted. Her shoulders were hunched, she was walking faster, and she no longer stopped to look at anything. I wanted to say something or intervene, but I hesitated. What could I do? Should I walk up and tell her a stranger might be following her? What if I was wrong? What if he was just a father waiting for his child? You always imagine you'll know exactly how to act in these moments until you are actually in one. Then she did something that made my chest tighten. She ducked behind the funnel cake truck and remained there, pressed against the back of it, peering around the corner. The man in the baseball cap stopped as well, standing by the ring toss game across from my booth, still clutching that same cup he'd had for 20 minutes. He was scanning the crowd methodically, his head moving slowly from left to right. When he failed to see her, he walked the entire perimeter of the food truck area, passing right by her hiding spot. She waited until he was on the far side before she darted out, heading toward the edge of the fairgrounds where the exhibitor parking was located. What made it worse was that as soon as she moved, he turned around as if he had been expecting it. He didn't run or even walk fast, he just followed at that same steady, confident pace, like someone who knew exactly how this would end. I couldn't stand it anymore and called out to Larry, our security guard who usually lingered near the beer garden. I told him something strange was happening with a guy following a teenage girl. Larry, who was nearly 70 and moved quite slowly, said he'd check it out, but had to settle an argument at the pig races first. By the time I looked back, the girl was at the far end of the grounds, near the exhibitor trucks and employee vehicles. The man had increased his speed, closing the gap between them. She was almost jogging, her purple hoodie making her easy to track in the deepening shadows. The last I saw of them, she was weaving between two livestock trailers, and he was following about 30 seconds behind. After that, the crowds and the fading lights swallowed them both. I kept watching that area, hoping to see her return with her parents or friends, but she never did. After 10 minutes, my anxiety was peaking. I asked Beverly to mind my booth and walked toward the parking area myself. It was chaotic, hundreds of cars, horse trailers, and RVs crammed into an unlit field. I walked the rows, calling out and asking if anyone had seen a girl in a purple hoodie. Most people were already in their cars or heading back to the fair. Then I heard a diesel engine start up. Through the maze of vehicles, I glimpsed a black pickup truck moving without its lights on. It was navigating slowly, as if trying not to draw attention. When everyone else had their lights on in the increasing darkness, this truck crept through the shadows invisibly. When it reached the exit, the lights finally flickered on, just as it accelerated onto the main road and sped away. I ran back to find Larry and insisted we call the police immediately. I told him about the girl being followed and the truck leaving without lights. My panic must have been convincing because he finally listened. He radioed the coordinator, and within minutes, 2 sheriff deputies arrived. I explained everything: the purple hoodie, the man in the cap, the pursuit to the parking area, and the black truck. They took it seriously and began asking questions. Did I know her? Had I seen them before? Could I describe the man? I realized then that I had been so focused on his behavior that I hadn't studied his face. Average height, average build, gray jacket, maybe aged 30 to 45. He could have been anyone. The deputies began checking cameras and questioning other vendors. 20 minutes later, a woman ran up to us hysterical. She was searching for her daughter, Ashley, 17 years old, who was supposed to meet her at 7 p.m. but never showed. The woman showed us a photo on her phone. It was the girl in the purple hoodie. My body went cold. The deputy immediately called for backup and a review of the security footage. The mother said Ashley always answered her texts, and her last message at 6:40 p.m. said a creep wouldn't leave her alone. The text read, "Mom, this guy in a baseball cap won't stop following me between the food stands, coming to the car." That was her last communication. Within an hour, the fairgrounds were swarming with police. They blocked the exits and interviewed everyone. The security footage was grainy, but one camera caught Ashley at 6:52 p.m. walking fast toward the back parking area. At 6:53 p.m., a figure in a baseball cap followed her. At 6:54 p.m., The frame was empty. Then, at 6:56 p.m., a black truck pulled out and drove slowly without lights until it hit the access road. They couldn't get a license plate due to the poor angle and quality, but the timing matched my observation perfectly. The detective later told me that the 2-minute window was everything. Whatever happened, it happened fast. They found her phone the next morning, screen cracked under a livestock trailer 50 feet from where I last saw her. There was a small amount of blood on the gravel nearby. Not much, but enough. Forensics spent hours there, but rain had washed away most of the evidence. The sickening part was that he must have planned it, knowing the camera blind spots, the poor lighting, and that the noise would drown out any struggle. Over 200 people were interviewed. 3 other girls reported a man matching that description, making them uncomfortable earlier that day. One girl, Kayla, said he had asked for directions to the parking lot at 4 p.m., but something about his smile made her lie and point him the wrong way. She noted his teeth looked like fake white veneers, and he smelled of cigarettes masked by heavy cologne. They never found Ashley, and they never found the truck, despite a multi-state alert. The FBI linked it to 2 other disappearances at county fairs over the last 3 years. The pattern was identical: a lone teenage girl, a man in a cap, and a quick departure. They believe he scouts the fairs, picks a target, and waits for them to be alone. He is patient, methodical, and invisible. I quit working at the fair after that. I quit many things and moved back with my parents. I see a therapist for survivor's guilt, replaying the day and all the things I could have done differently, left my booth, walked her to security, or memorized that license plate. The fair still happens every October, but I never go. If you made it this far, you're braver than most. If you enjoyed the story, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for more nightmares. Trust me, the next one is darker,